Hello, welcome. This is Delia. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about abundance. And I want you to just kind of imagine, what does abundance mean to you? Just hearing that off the top of my head, off the top of your head, and just kind of get a sense of what abundance means to you. And uh, oftentimes people start out with abundance is like more room or in their like thinking about their bills, right? Having more room financially, so that there's something to choose a little beyond what has to happen, right? Or it could be abundance is like more physical space. And so oftentimes the first place people go to about abundance is kind of getting the elephant off the foot, whatever is kind of problematic for somebody. Abundance would be not having that pressure, right? And just see if that's true for you, that if abundance really, the first step is like, okay, I wouldn't have to worry about this. I would have more space in this area of my life. And that's one of the things that I wanted to point out is the whole idea of more space, more room, more wiggle room, more room to work with, and how that's a really good kinesthetic sense of what abundance is, more space. So now think about a time when you were running late, and just notice how your body feels when you're running late. And what usually happens for people when they're running late is a sense of tightness, like a constriction in your chest or tightness in your neck and shoulders. And the other thing that goes along with running late usually is not being where your body is, right? So like the picture of you're running late and you're driving to where you need to be, and your body is in the car, but your head is already at the destination. You're already walking into the meeting, apologizing profusely for being late, or you're walking into where you're meeting people and you're already acting like it's no big deal and what's the problem, or however you deal with running late. So again, there's the lack of space, and you're not present. You're out there somewhere, right? So when you're out there somewhere, your body is going to have tension and nervousness and anxiety. So you may remember the term future tripping, which I don't know, it used to be, we used to hear it a lot. So when you're future tripping, that's an example of future tripping. You're projecting all of your energy and attention to some place that your body cannot be in, right? So if you're future tripping into 20 minutes from now, when you're going to walk into the building, your body is going to be really anxious because it's stuck in this car. And we think it's because we're stuck in the car, but our energy and attention is already over there. And really, bodies are really anxious when energy and attention isn't here with the body. And does that mean that you can never think about the future? No. But there is a difference between thinking about the future and making plans for the future than there is in leaving right here, right now, and going and being somewhere else where you're already walking into the room, you're already getting in trouble, you're already getting blowback from other people about something, right? It's very, very different from thinking about the future. And the way your body can tell you which one you're doing is that when you're really, really anxious and upset, that's future tripping. When you are really present with yourself and imagining the future and kind of trying things on, your body is not going to be upset. So this is a real great example of how your body is actually giving you information that you need to navigate the physical world. It's just that the dictionary that we've been given about the sensations that body is the sensations in our body and what they mean, it's all wonky. It's really, really wonky. So I can't remember what the topic is now. Okay. So if you are future tripping, your body's going to be anxious. I mean, this has been true. It's just the way bodies are. This has been true since, Plato or one of those people talked about, I think it was Plato, talked about how if you are sad, you're probably thinking about the past. The past will make the body sad. And if you're anxious, you're probably thinking about the future. And you're like, it's not just thinking about the future. It's like you're putting too much of yourself into the future. And if you're sad, you're usually putting too much of yourself into the past. And I think he says that if you're thinking about the past too much, you're sad because you can't do anything about it. And if you're in the future, your body's, you get anxious, your body gets anxious because you can't do anything about that either. And that's true from a biological level. Pardon me. Actually, in point of fact, what your past means changes. So there's this idea that the past is the past and it doesn't ever change. And that's really not true. What that's describing is as though the past is written in stone. The problem is the way we talk about past is through our emotional impressions. And that led to very specific conclusions, decisions, assumptions, definitions, and decisions. But none of those conclusions, decisions, assumptions, definitions, or decisions are the past. They're an interpretation of the past. So what do I mean by that? If in the past, you had a thing for the redheaded girl in second grade, and she did not have a thing for you, okay? And so let's say you tried to give her a Valentine in front of the whole class, and she was not receptive in kind of an embarrassing to you way. So she was like, ew, and then you felt really embarrassed and ashamed, right? Just not you, but the story you. So in that moment of being embarrassed, we'll make up a story. So I really liked the redheaded boy, and I gave him this. I wanted to give him this very special Valentine that I made, and he laughed at it in front of everybody in the lunchroom. let's say. Okay, so that's not how we tell the story. How we tell the story is to ourselves involves, I really put myself out there, or I really liked him, which is a form of I really put myself out there. And I made this Valentine for him, which is, kind of pouring yourself into something. And then you gave the gift of this thing to somebody who didn't appreciate it. And so what most of us do is we make conclusions, decisions, the conclusions, decisions, assumptions, definitions, and stories about us, about them, about the nature of life and the world and all that jazz. So we make conclusions like don't ever trust redheaded boys, or don't ever declare your affection in public, or make sure that they like you first, right? These are really common conclusions. And it could be that what happened was you poured your heart into this thing and you really liked this person and you told them that you really liked them and they couldn't receive it. Maybe they didn't like themselves. Maybe they were embarrassed to be being gifted in front of everybody. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they had a crush on somebody else. Maybe. But see, maybe is very different than conclusions, decisions, assumptions. And as children, it's a big socialization project. So as children, we do make conclusions, decisions, assumptions all the time, and we're encouraged to. It's what other people call learning. It is not. It is conclusions, decisions, assumptions, but it's what passes for learning. And the truth is that all of us have had situations in our past where we cared and were open and vulnerable and giving to someone who could not receive what we were offering. And then we made up a story about us and about them and about the world and about the nature of what's possible and what's not possible. And that hurts because it all has to do with closing things down. And just try on the idea that you had a big heart and you really were guileless, and you showed that, and it was badly received. And how it was badly received meant nothing about you. It meant nothing about you. So all of those conclusions, decisions, and assumptions that you made about you and the other person and life and the world and everything, you don't need to carry them around anymore. So you could do a clearing on them, destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. So destroy, you want to destroy the energy of the conclusions, decisions, assumptions. Destory means kind of pulling the threads of all that story apart so that the story falls apart. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, like to disintegrate it from your system and erase it, right? So whatever the story is, underneath it is like a structure that the story sits on. And doing the clearings erases the structure so that the story can fall apart. So story is really potent and it's really vital, and it has a lot of really great uses. But when we have a story that defines us or life or the other person, it limits what's possible. And then we end up believing that the limits are more true than anything. And that's always pretty devastating. So everywhere your brain is trying to figure that out, let's destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. So the thing about doing clearings is we're clearing like that infrastructure underneath the story, the structure that holds the story in place. And you can never clear or erase or get rid of something that's true for you. So you never have to worry about what you're clearing. You can't clear anything that's true for you. So, like Brene Brown and being vulnerable. This is the story of, the second grade and the redheaded kid. It's a story about being vulnerable. And if you have a conclusion that says that because of what happened in second grade, you cannot be vulnerable, you cannot be just you, then life is not only going to be exhausting, it's just going to be painful. And when you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable, it's not about allowing others to steamroll over you. It's just about not being steeled up all the time, which is a huge relief. So the story of your past changes as you heal and grow. And the things that used to be painful and stories of limitation and of conclusions, decisions, assumptions, the hardness melts away with the clearings. And what you're left with is not painful. And you can see kindnesses in places that you've never been able to see it before because of the story. So this is a pretty far-reaching kind of a conversation here today. I look forward to seeing you next time.